Welcome to the first ever Indo Chef Podcast. I'm here with my wife, Laura.
Hello, welcome.
And we just got back from the Sam and Colby movie. We have thoughts, and normally this is a cooking channel, but today we're serving nothing but tea.
Hot tea. So when we got out of the theater, my initial thought when we got in the car, talked about it, my initial thought was, and what I said to you was, that their Kansas white boy was showing. They're from, rural Kansas, Kansas City suburbs or whatever, and I felt like they didn't recognize some of the kind of overstepping a little bit, like culturally.
It missed a lot of the nuances of dealing with spirits from another culture. There's your regular cowboy ghost in the saloon, things like that, but they were touching on Navajo territory and rituals and things.
Yeah, and a completely different culture, right? There's a whole culture alive today and, thousands of years ago that goes along with the spiritual stories of the land that they were on. And to me, if you're going to mess with someone else's culture, you best be doing your research and making sure that you're not overstepping or saying things that are they're kind of just stupid, Like when you don't know the culture and you walk in there pushing it out there that you do know it, you just end up looking kind of eh.
Yeah, I think they were in some legal trouble, allegedly, across different channels.
They didn't address it, but
they didn't address it.
I'm assuming.
There's, what's his name? Brandon Fugel. I think he's the one that owns Skinwalker Ranch. No mention of him in this movie at all. They talked about Bigelow, the previous owner, and they used a lot of AI to bring him to life in this. They changed the title of the movie from
The Legend of Skinwalker Ranch, and they changed it to The Legends of the Paranormal 3 days before opening, or 4 days before opening.
So a little bit suspicious, so something definitely happened there. We don't know what.
And they didn't address it. So usually that means someone probably from the ranch, probably from the shows that are running there. They have those active shows that are on TV right now. Maybe the legal teams of that show or the ranch itself reached out and said, look, you can't use our name because we already have productions going with that. We have our websites. We have
History
our name.
Channel, they have a whole show.
Yeah, History Channel, all that.
There's that dragon guy that's a bodyguard and the crazy host guy.
I think because it was going into theaters nationwide, that was when they actually cared about that and made them change their name probably. And they probably had to sign an
NDA or something.
NDA to say that they weren't.
But also with having such a large following, 10 million plus subscribers and more.
13 million actually.
13.
They just got to 13.
They need a bit more transparency with that because everyone has one of these in your hand. You could just pop on to YouTube, TikTok, whatever, and be like, hey guys, we're making some changes. Send.
Yeah, so
that's all it takes, right?
A lot of the fans were really confused, the ones that had bought tickets already. Some of them had bought tickets with the old name, and some of them had bought tickets with a new name, and a lot of people were really worried that they were going to see a different movie, that they had bought the wrong tickets, all of that. So even if you can't talk about, if there was legal implications, you could have at least said, hey guys, we are making a change to the name. It just suits us better, whatever, come up with something. And then just say, don't worry, they're all the same tickets. We've been hearing that people are confused. So don't worry, you have the right tickets and, thank you for buying them. And then that's it. That's all you needed to do. But it doesn't seem like there was any kind of response whatsoever to a quick last minute change, poster change and everything. The poster went down completely. They threw up some screenshot there for a minute. And then the next day they had the proper poster back up again. So something happened and I would love to know what it was, but I bet you that it has something to do with the History Channel and the shows. And you just can't.
And the current owner of Skinwalker Ranch is a mega rich commercial real estate developer. So he's got a lot of sway in that town.
Yeah. So speaking of that, when they go to the ranch.
Spoilers.
Yes, there are spoilers. When they're going to the ranch at the beginning of the movie, you're thinking, okay, well, judging by the title of Skinwalker Ranch, or when I bought the tickets, it was Skinwalker Ranch, we're assuming that they're actually going to that property that the History Channel is filming at. So their main headquarters at the actual center of the ranch. When you go through the gates at the beginning and all that stuff.
It's very distinct.
Now, very distinct. They definitely did not go in there. They didn't get permission, or maybe they filmed something that they didn't want them to film, whatever. But they definitely didn't go into that part of the ranch.
It was like a neighboring farm.
It was,
which something nearby, but they didn't really specify how close.
They said that it was owned by Bigelow as well, so potentially some more acreage that he had picked up as well. So there was still activity there, and as far as booglies go, there was still like the lore of things that were going bump in the night there. But it doesn't necessarily mean it was in the core of that place that scientists for years have been searching for answers for. Mm-hmm. So that kind of threw it off. That also could be one of the reasons why they changed it last minute, thinking, okay, we're basically like false advertising. So that was kind of disappointing, because I was really excited about seeing them go into that place, and I was surprised that they were able to get permission, and it seems that they couldn't. So, which I'm sure is a feat, so don't get me wrong. I mean, that would be difficult for a producer to go in.
So another thing about the skinwalkers is there's like the urban legends, the lore on if you say skinwalker, it attracts them to you. There's a lot of back and forth on what's the actual traditions and what's not. But throughout the film, they keep saying the name over and over on the land while acknowledging that you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, so they keep talking. Yeah, it started off right away as they started saying the word in the car. And Nate was saying, hey, I thought we weren't supposed to say that. And they say, oh yeah, it's supposed to be like, it attracts them to you, blah, blah, blah. And then they just keep saying it over and over and over and over again. Now, even if it's completely all bogus and there aren't any flesh pedestrians walking around.
That's another alternative name to saying the word.
Yeah, so even if there aren't any of those walking around, it's still, that's kind of a respect thing for me. That's also a cultural thing. If the entire Navajo community and neighboring communities don't like to say them, especially on their properties, and they don't want that to be done, then respect
maybe
it.
Don't. Yeah.
Come up with a different name and use it for the entire thing. They at one point did say some different name. I don't want to ruin anything for anyone, but then they didn't really use it. Like they joked it. It was a joke and it was funny, but they didn't actually use it afterward either. So yeah, that's just the tiniest little thing that could have started out with the respect of just the culture that you're walking into. This land is not. It's very specifically Navajo land. Yeah,
and there's other channels that have explored this. The best one, I think, is ShanClan Productions. I can't remember if that is that your name, ShanClan? I'm not sure, but anyway, he's a big Navajo guy. He's humongous. He's like 6'5" or something. He did a guest appearance on Elton's channel,
the Overnight channel.
Yeah. And he did a whole investigation, gave like the proper history according to his culture.
They did rituals. Now he obviously probably some things off camera and some things on camera. Some of them are, they're sacred, right? But a lot of them he shared, and it was really great. The way that Elton put together a more cultural, significant piece. Obviously, it's still for entertainment.
There's more history and traditions in his show on YouTube as a regular YouTube show.
Yeah. But
I think Elton knocked it out with his versus this movie.
He did, and from the very beginning of that episode, and I haven't watched it for a long time, but from the very beginning of that episode, he was saying, I ain't messing with this stuff. I don't have this culture, so here is the person who actually is the best person to talk about it. Because not only is his family like shaman and like higher ups in the spiritual...
Talking about ShanClan, not Elton.
Yeah, in the spiritual world there, but they know all the spiritual significance of the different things that are within that culture, and how to call them forth properly, how to close it properly, how to respect it properly, what to look out for. When you go back to the Sam and Colby thing, it didn't seem like they knew any of that. In fact, they kind of talked about how skinwalkers, forgive me for saying that, but about how they were kind of like werewolves. From what I know, and I don't know a lot, but I'm really interested in cryptids, so I've listened to lots of stories and learned lots from actual Navajo people who want to talk about it, which aren't too many, but there's some. And they're not werewolves, they're shapeshifters, which they do say, but they could be anything. And they're witches. So they're evil witches. They have wanted to have power. They want to have...
They took a shortcut to power.
According
to Shan Clan. Basically, there was the regular shamans that do the good stuff, and they, through years of practice and rituals, they would level up their power. We'll just say it because we're not in Navajo territory, and we'll say skinwalkers. They have their own actual word for it. I was going to say it just for clarification. The skinwalkers are basically dark shamans that shortcut through evil rituals of doing terrible things, murdery things, they acquire their power that way.
Yeah, and they have to do something absolutely horrendous in order to actually tap into this evil energy, which is basically murdering one or many
family members
of your closest people to you, or animals to you, or whatever. And you have to go in there and just murder your mom or your brother or whoever. And
Sam and Colby just spun it as if it was like a supernatural episode.
Yeah,
right?
And it was just a supernatural thing to begin with. But they're supposed to be actual people. These are people that can bewitch animals in a certain way, and they can bewitch people in a certain way, and they tap into dark energy. Now, whether you believe in dark energy or not, that is what the Navajo believe, and that's what gives them their power.
And having at least a Navajo guest, a current shaman, previous shaman, or even just community member in the show to discuss the history portion would have made it so much better. Because when they go, say, to the Washoe Club or all those other places, they have a local guide coming in talking about it.
Yeah, historian or whoever.
Historian or something.
Or even just the guide.
But with this one, it's another culture, and you want to get it from them. And it kind of puts that ignorant flavor in it.
Yeah, and again, we should specify, we're huge Sam and Colby fans.
Yeah, we watch every episode. So before it comes for us in the comments, we love Sam and Colby.
Yeah, as soon as it comes in, and we're not like, oh, everything they do is real, okay?
We're also not the youngest people on YouTube either. I'm in my 40s.
Yeah, I know.
This is the first time saying how old I actually am on camera. Yes, I'm in my 40s.
In general, I don't think they fake their stuff. However, they, obviously we know, and they acknowledge as well that this is for entertainment. And so there are certain things
They'll stretch things.
They're going to stretch things, and you got to do that, or else it's not entertaining
part of the show, right?
At all. If something doesn't happen whatsoever in your episodes, you've got to make something happen.
This is my notes. I'm not checking text messages.
So in the film, they did not have a single... I don't even think they had a person of color in the entire film. And we're talking about...
Yeah, I don't think they did.
Yeah, and we're talking about... This is sacred, reservation land.
Yeah.
You can't have a single person of color, let alone a First Nations person representing themselves or their culture. That was a big no-no. They could have found even a teenager of the local area who maybe doesn't, who had gotten the stories from grandma or mom, but didn't feel like he couldn't talk about it. Get someone like that. I don't know. It's
so the entire structure, it felt kind of rushed and last minute.
Yeah.
It was in 3 parts, right? Was it 3 or 4?
That's the way they edited it.
Yeah, the editing was done in 3 parts, just to kind of give it a bit more storyline push. But as far as footage goes, they didn't really have that much. Their regular YouTube videos, they usually slam dunk it when it's a good one, and lots of new footage, lots of excellent B-roll and stuff. But this one, it's like they turned 30 minutes of okay footage into an hour and a half.
Yeah, and that's sometimes I'm sure that's kind of happens, and with YouTube videos, I think it's kind of okay when that happens because generally it's better to just get something out. However, this is their film that they're releasing with theaters who have probably...
But talking about the standards of they're calling it a movie.
So the theaters have probably given them a decent, amount of money to share in the tickets and to promote this thing. And so there had to be some sort of accountability a little bit of having a structure. So to me, I would have hired someone to do the cinematography, first of all. So someone who can either direct and do cinematography, or you hire a director and a cinematographer. Now, I'm not talking about lighting it and all that stuff. You don't need to do that. This is a YouTube video, and even though it's in the theaters, that's what we're expecting.
You want to keep that same flavor, but elevate it a bit, right?
But because it's going into theater and it is considered a movie, you need a director and a cinematographer. First of all, you need your talent in the film 100% of the time. If Sam or Colby are filming, or Nate is filming, then one of them is missing out of that reaction or whatever they're doing, the ritual, whatever, doesn't matter. So if you have a cinematographer like they did for the 25 by 25, they're going to have a lot better footage.
And that series was excellent.
I thought it was excellent. And
it was fun, it was engaging, and exciting.
It was very exciting.
The movie was interesting, but it wasn't scary or exciting.
Even just one of their 25 by 25 episodes was better as a film than this film. Now, I still enjoyed this film. And we spent like $300 an entire 2 days to drive down to a theater that had it just to indulge
We crossed the border to watch this.
Yeah, we got our passports already. Like we are fans. We're big fans. But I think that the way that they had their shooting style on 25 by 25, they should have brought something like that over to this film to give it a little bit more of a cinematic feel. They definitely tried to with their drone shots and some of the footage that they added in with the editor and everything. And that was great. I really loved that. Some of the shots were quite unique. However, the actual footage itself of the investigations, of the ranch itself,
it was pretty potato.
It was just their regular, like holding on to their regular DSLR camera and shaky and everything.
You hear the zoom lens.
Yeah, I mean, which is fine on a YouTube channel, which is fine. Even if you have 13 million, it doesn't matter. It's YouTube. People are okay
because
with that.
This is kind of treated like almost like a found footage sort of thing. Yeah. Only they're making it, but it's kind of like feeling live but not live.
So I think that there should have been. I really liked that they brought Nate on to this because to me, whenever he's in a video, it's much better because he grounds them a little bit, I think, because they get a little bit too silly otherwise. And if they have younger guests, then they tend to be a little bit more younger. It
turns into like prank challenges.
Yeah, a little bit. It depends on who they're collabing with. But when they're collabing with Nate, it tends to be a little bit more interesting. He has very like up there ideas and philosophy kind of ideas. And he I don't know, he just kind of like ups the game.
He matures it a little bit.
So he was a good choice, I think. However, if there was that cinematographer and director, maybe they could be both. Everyone would have been in the film 100% of the time. Someone who is trained in cinematography and directing is going to give you better options in terms of what the editor needs. The reason I'm qualified to talk about this is I did go to film school for 2 years, independent filmmaking course, cinematography, directing, editing, all of that. So I actually do know how to make films. I wouldn't say that I could do better. I certainly couldn't do better. But I understand how these things work. And if you don't shoot to edit, the editor's really going to struggle. And I feel that they didn't shoot to edit for this particular thing.
Okay, so on to the editing. They brought on the big gun of YouTube. They brought Hayden Hillier-Smith on as their editor.
Who is amazing.
He is a young genius. He has perfected retention-based editing. He's Logan Paul's main editor. Not anymore. Formerly.
Not just for YouTube that he works. He also does other types of editing.
So you may have seen like his videos where he'll like re-edit Batman and put his own sound effects and stuff. I feel he did an excellent job with what he was given.
Yes.
Because he's a fantastic editor. He's the best.
He could have done so much better though.
But we'll talk about the AI in a minute. But there's one major thing that hit me right away in the theater is you hear all the sound design, absolutely perfect sound design. I loved it. But it was mixed in stereo. So you're in the theater, we were sitting all the way at the back, and you hear all the growls, the bangs, all the stuff coming from the front of there goes my phone. Coming from the front of the theater only. So there's no rumble behind us, nothing to the sides, just mixed in flat stereo.
And there were a lot of opportunities to have stuff.
It would have made it so much better. So my question is for Hayden, was it a budgetary thing? Or was it just forgotten?
Or did they want it for YouTube to just be stereo?
Maybe it's just for like putting on YouTube later. In the movie, they talk about how it's not going on YouTube and their hype, it's not being put on YouTube ever.
I think it will be.
It will be, I think.
But in terms of the sound, like there were so many sound design elements in it that they did put in. You could tell that they put in sound editing. that could have just been like, you just click a switch. Like when you're editing, you can just click certain switches and highlight certain parts of the audio to be left, right, or behind or stereo.
Yeah.
So it's not like, yes, it takes a lot longer, but
unless you're doing like the car zipping by left to right across the audio space. For the most part, it's like growl back corner.
Yeah, but
crash front.
Even if you only did just a few parts of that, like let's say you have an hour and a half movie and you have 6 really good from left to rights or from behind to fronts that bring the audience really into the film. Even if you just had 5 or 6 of those in an hour and a half.
And the music. The music was also front speakers.
And that, for cinema,
it took away from it. Big
time, because we really wanted to have that rumble. And this film in Nevada, obviously Nevada has huge open spaces, beautiful mountain ranges, and huge open skies, and they showed that really well in this film. And there could have been so much more and they had some spooky sound design for the AI that they did put into it, and that could have just been completely enveloping.
The sound design was so good, but just that huge missed opportunity. So in the comments, or Hayden, if you make a short to respond to this, what happened there?
Yeah. Also, I would just love to know what he thought of editing the project. I don't know if he's put anything out there yet, whether he enjoyed it or what the stumbles were.
Because he was stretching the maximum that you can squeeze out of an orange to get the juice, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't enough footage, and that comes into filling that footage with AI.
Yes, I actually really liked it.
The quality was really nice. Great images.
Yes, and all I thought was, and again, this is kind of a little bit of a spoiler, but not too much because everyone's talking about it. The AI images were great. I think they were produced well. They were, you type it in and you get your AI, and then you basically give AI a little bit more. Hey, I want this smaller, this bigger, whatever. So they did a really good job of producing those AI images. However, they only did 10 images, and they would just keep using them over and over again. You have access to make AI, and you've bought into those AI programs. Make a ton.
Yeah.
Make them.
They had this one headdress image that was really cool, and it creeps towards the screen, but they would reuse it over and over and over and over again.
And it was very powerful at first. It was it actually almost gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, it pulls you into the film.
And it did pull you right into the film. But then it was used again and again and again and again and again. No color changes, no nothing. It was exactly the same thing over and over again. And it's just couldn't you come up with another also similar but not quite the same? So
and the images of Mr. Bigelow as well. Great images, looks of fear in his eyes.
They pretend I think they prompted for a sketch look. So
it kind of like a comic book sketch kind of
sketch
image.
Look. So there was almost a cartoony version of what they were needing, which worked really well because then you're not using likeness too much.
Yeah. I would say easily 10 minutes of the movie was the reusing of those AI clips.
Yeah, maybe more. Yeah, because it was a lot, and I don't know. I just feel maybe they filmed an entire other video, and it was shut down last minute. We don't know, right? If there's a legal issue, they could have had a banger, and then the History Channel went, nope, too close to our stuff.
Yeah, because they pretty much have the rights to the ranch.
Yeah, and you don't know. We don't know. So you have to kind of keep that in mind before you start attacking the film, right? Making a film, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, including legal. And legal is very difficult. And YouTube is a lot easier that way. Maybe they had a whole other section of this film that they couldn't include.
It could have been something really juicy.
Because it was something that was whatever. That was.
So what they did to stretch it out was they talked about the skinwalkers, and the Skinwalker area.
I'm sorry if that's offending anyone. We're just
Skinwalker Ranch area is also known for UFOs. There's apparently something buried in the ground in the real ranch.
Yeah, there's
cosmic portal kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's said that there is a alien base underneath the mountain that is on the ranch.
Yeah, and
which, believe it or not, whatever you want.
But believe what you want.
That's what they're saying.
Coming back to their previous movie, the Conjuring one. If you're watching this, you've seen that already. With the ending, they had the controversy with what's his face?
Cody and Satori.
Yeah, Cody and Satori, and the knocking and stuff.
If you know them, you would have made up your mind by now.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
That doesn't matter whether you believe or not. That's fine.
And their big conclusion was, oh, it's all about just love, and being present. And it's like, did you guys prove ghosts exist? No. Yes, Sam, you can cry on camera. Your acting's good. I'll give it to you.
I think he's actually an exceptional actor. Yeah. Not that I'm saying he acts in every single video, but But
he can turn on the waterworks.
He can.
He can do it.
And we know that because of the prank that they did with Sam Peppers or something.
Oh, I don't remember.
Colby got shot and he was like in the chair. You must have seen
I don't think I saw that one.
Okay, well, anyways.
Maybe we'll run a clip.
Amazing actor. Most people don't believe me that was acting. They're still like, oh, he got traumatized. That was real. Watch tutorials on what you think about, how you get yourself in the zone. The second scene's the rooftop where Colby gets shot. And so while that was whole prep being like, I'm actually putting myself in that moment of if Colby died in front of my eyes. Yes, it was acting, but it was also me like genuinely believing it was
Which
happening.
is acting. Like really
acting.
impressive.
The shaman. This is a weird thing because in general, a shaman is like a holy person, a protector of the people.
A healer.
And spiritual realm. Mm-hmm. They did like a summoning of the shaman, but they treated it as if like he was evil almost.
Yeah, they definitely portrayed him as like a almost like a dark entity, just because he's been known to chase people off the land that are doing terrible things, like digging or
blowing things up.
Blowing things up. We'll get to that. He's been known to like basically appear and scare the bejesus out of you, in your sleep or.
Well, that goes back to Mr. Bigelow, how apparently
that's how he was chased off.
The shaman appeared to him
in a hotel
room, and then something happened, and he sold it. And
he refuses to talk about it.
He yeeted out of there.
But he literally was gone the next day and never came back ever.
Yeah.
So, all they know is that it was a visitation from this shaman who basically protects the land and has been there for thousands of years. And to me, like, I'm a full believer in paranormal and different dimensions and things of that sort. I don't know about having an alien base underneath the mountain, but I'm also not going to say that can't happen, right? I'm very open-minded, but so I have no problem with believing that there is someone who protects someone or multiple entities or spirits.
Let's talk about Sam and Colby's videos in general, where their quality is sitting, and will they be canceled after the quality of this movie?
I think just the fact that the rest of the world can't partake in this like special thing leaves a bad taste in their mouth. Like if you're in Australia or UK, wherever, there's so many fans all over the world, 13 million of them. They're not all in the States. A lot of them are, but they're not all in the States. And even the people who are in the States, if you can't afford a ticket, which a lot of people can't, to go to the movies all the time or even just once, because it's like $30.
Yeah, you're just banking that it'll make it to YouTube eventually.
Yeah, you have this bad taste in your mouth. You can't like it just feels kind of yucky. So having it like saying that it'll come out eventually would also help that.
Yeah,
I know they want to sell tickets, but at the same time, like
I think they're just gonna dump it on Explore Club.
Maybe, but anyways.
Their frequency of videos.
I don't think they're going to get canceled. I think a lot of people who maybe our age might be done now. They might be. They might
like you guys are just baloney.
Or if they were only just discovering Sam and Colby and decided to give that a try, maybe they would rethink things.
Yeah.
If you've been with them since Explore and they're like from the beginning.
If you're from like Trap House days,
exactly,
that's a different thing.
Then you're here for the long haul. You're probably never going to go away. Like, like their fans are diehard fans, and they always will be.
Yeah. They're like the Swifties.
Yeah.
Like I made a short about their Conjuring video, and people lost their minds.
They lost their minds.
There's like there's I think 10,000 views. It's like one of my biggest videos on people just being like, "How dare you insult my Sam and Colby? They're so precious. What do you know about ghosts? You just cook food."
Yeah, and it was just...
I got stories. They're coming later. Not in this podcast.
It was just his opinion on Cody and Satori, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily Sam and Colby, but
I think they were faking it.
I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah, that's a whole other discussion.
I want to believe them because I can't imagine people being that cruel.
Yeah.
Like, if you're doing that, it's like, that's like cruel.
I think they more do it just to kind of give people hope. Not to trick them, but to be like,
I mean, I get giving people hope, and I get like that's actually a good thing.
But it's like false hope.
But, well, not necessarily, because if it ends up being real, then it's not false. But for me, it's like when you're giving someone, if you're giving someone a personal reading, like something that really moves them, like what happened with Sam, might have been a little bit pushed. Like once he felt emotion, maybe he pushed it out a little bit more. Yeah. But I think it was genuine emotion, and he was generally surprised. And same with Colby, he was generally surprised at that information.
I think at the moment, Sam fully believed it to be true.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is...
But there was backlash immediately after that video was published. So.
Yes, but my point is with them, and we can move on from them after this, but my point is with them, if they were faking it, and they looked up all that stuff beforehand, and it wasn't cleared with them, like it wasn't like, okay, let's do this, and then this is going to happen.
Yeah, go to the park and talk to the teacher's ghosts.
Exactly, like all of that. Like if they hadn't cleared it with each other beforehand, and these guys were just like looking things up and lying to them, and having a really emotional, taxing thing happen to them, like that would, that brought up some raw emotions, right, for both of them, but mainly for Sam. And if you're doing that to people over and over again, and you've really just done research, and you're bringing up these raw emotions, that doesn't help them heal.
Yeah.
There's
like 100 videos just on that subject.
Yeah. So like for me, it's like anyone who's a fake medium, or maybe has like the tiniest little bit of psychic ability, but they say that they're amazing, and they can't actually help with the healing journey. Like that, to me, is the ultimate word, like bad. So
yeah, that's a scam.
I want to believe that they are not doing that.
They seem like nice people, so I don't know.
I want to believe that they're not doing that to people. I do believe in like stuff like that happening to people, but it does seem a little sus.
Yeah.
However, we're moving on. Moving on.
We're
going to talk about that.
So the quality of Sam and Colby's videos and the number of releases they've had this last year. He had his cancer scare and stuff, and that was a whole other bag.
Yeah, and that probably emotionally drained them quite a bit for the first part of the year.
Yeah.
Even when you're, cancer free, let's hope forever.
So I wonder, are they spreading themselves too thin? Is that why they're not? Well, I was just going to say, even when you're cancer free, you still have emotionally, like that would have been exhausting. So you might not have been fully recovered. Even 6 months after you were cleared, you're still probably dealing with the trauma. So like maybe you don't want to work too hard, or maybe you can't focus on work. So maybe that affected it. However, Colby was tough. He was pushing through.
He was awesome.
He kept shooting even though he was so sick.
I know. I was really proud of him. It was pretty awesome. But the releases were so slow that when you go to their page, you see without scrolling, last year's Hell Week. And all of the videos that they've done in 1 year, 9 uploads. That's it.
The React channel still have a weekly release.
Yeah, the React channel is doing great.
And it's fun.
I really like it. I think all of the extras in it, the editing and extras and stuff in it are hilarious. Yeah. I love that channel. But their main channel, like I feel like even if you I know that they really love the fact that their YouTube videos are like films. They're like really long, like real investigations, and take a long time to edit and also to watch.
But there's a thing. It's like
but you could split them up.
There's making films, calling yourselves a filmmaker, and the reality. Like outside of Indo Chef, I do like residential real estate videos, photos. We shoot weddings. So like our editing background is pretty intensive. But some people call themselves, I'm a wedding filmmaker.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, whether you're like us or YouTuber, you're a videographer. Yeah. It's a different class. As a filmmaker, you're setting up a billion lights. You're taking thousands and millions of dollars to set up for a 3-second shot. You're not doing that for YouTube.
And that might not even make the cut. All of that stuff goes but YouTube, like you're not going to shoot something, for the most part, you're not going to shoot stuff that isn't going to get in there. Unless you're just getting, you're getting your B-roll, which obviously, I don't know if you don't know what B-roll is. It's basically just you go to a location and you film like the doors, the walls. Yeah, it's like you're talking on the phone, get a close up of the phone. Yeah, the location, the animals that live there, whatever the content is. that's your B-roll, and you can cut that into, let's say there's an interview, it's a documentary. You've got your talking head, and then you cut to what they're talking about, the house, the animal, the whatever.
It helps you fill in the story visually.
Yes. So obviously YouTube, you have to do, when you're telling a story, you have to have B-roll, and they do always have B-roll. But they're not going to shoot too much stuff that's not going to get in there. Whereas if you're doing an actual film, there will be some whole scenes that are...
And there's cinematic style, like Josh from, what's his channel? Make Art Now, I think. He's buddies with Gerald Undone. His channel's phenomenal. He'll make riding on one wheel skateboard scooter thing into an epic looking film.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's always those people on TikTok and
basically
stuff.
over the top production quality is when you're becoming a filmmaker. There's being a storyteller, which is also another thing, and there's a lot of great storytellers on YouTube. But when you're making a film, it's more specific to the technical end, I feel.
And also the structure of a film. Every film has exactly the same, like Hollywood film has the exact same structure, right? There's like certain things that happen at certain times.
Climax in the plots.
You know, there are some twists that are different, but really you can look, if you step back and look at every single film at the exact same times in the films, there'll be, your conflict, your resolution, your, all that stuff.
And that comes back to Hayden Smith with his editing.
Yeah.
And his tutorials. He'll talk about how you have to map out your story within even just your YouTube video to make it more like a film. Otherwise, you're just a bunch of guys running around with a camera, zooming in and out, and saying, "Whoa! I got goosebumps! Oh my god!" Oh. Right?
Yeah. Bro, look at bro. Yeah.
That's most ghost videos. Quick pause. Make sure we're still going. Yeah, we're good. So on their quality, I kind of feel that they might have peaked. They had their slam dunk with their first Conjuring video in the scary basement and the soldier ghosts and all that stuff.
That was actually the second Conjuring video, just saying.
Yeah, there's so many, right?
The first Conjuring video, they had Amanda there.
Because with Amanda's great.
And I think Kat, and maybe Stas, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then the second one, because they were saying, if it gets to 250,000
we'll
likes,
come back and stay here for a week or whatever.
We'll come back and stay here by ourselves. No, just by ourselves.
Yeah.
And then they did the Conjuring for Halloween Week the next year, or even 2 years from then. I don't know. But that one, that was the second video. Anyways. I'm fanning.
So I'm saying 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I feel their videos were complete bangers. They were great. They were spooky. But now they've kind of gotten too much of a formula. With this movie they released, if they stuck to their standard YouTube formula,
it didn't even have the formula. Yeah, this film did not have that formula.
I think Hayden tried to boost it up a bit by making it a 3-part thing. But their videos basically go like this. Every video. What's up, guys? It's Sam and Colby. History of the place. They bust out the REM pod. It beeps a couple times.
They introduce their people first.
They introduce their local guides or whatever. And they get the regular Home Depot flashlights. They flash a bunch. And then they do a bunch of weird, funny stuff. And then they end with the Estes method. Which, for those that don't know, you put on headphones with a spirit box, which is basically a radio scanner that goes through channels very quickly. And you'll be ask questions "Oh, are you a little girl?" Then it was demon. And it'll say words to you.
Basically, the spirits are supposed to be able to go through the frequencies as fast as it's going.
Yeah.
Pick out words that it wants to communicate with you and push them out. So it'll somewhat make sense. And the Estes method helps you get into a little bit more of a meditative state because you're sensory deprivating.
Yeah. So one of the boys will have a blindfold on, and they have the noise canceling headphones.
And it's a fan favorite. Everyone loves it.
Everyone loves it. I love it too.
I love it.
It's my favorite part.
It becomes a lot more spooky if it's if it's a dark.
They do their little test on hey, can you hear me? It's hey, Colby, you're really ugly. Can you hear me? So we don't know if it actually is noise canceling, but
I think it is. Though.
If it's legit, it's pretty good because they ask the questions, and the person with the earphones on, they don't know what the questions are.
Yeah.
Allegedly. So they're just saying whatever random things they hear. And it's interesting to see how things line up. So if it's are you a soldier? Civil War. things like that come out, right?
Exactly. And so it's like it's a tool to help validate. But anyways, this is not about ghost hunting equipment.
Yeah.
So
back to the format. Back to the structure. Most of the videos have that structure. I think they've leaned into it a bit too much.
It's getting a little old.
It's getting a bit stale. They need to like create some new methods and get rid of the motion detecting little coffin box. It has a little like music box saying ding 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 ding, and it's always malfunctioning. They always need to reset it, and it just never seems to work across other channels as well. It seems like just a BS device that the companies are pushing, and it'll randomly malfunction.
I quite like it, but
I think if you get one of those motion beepers that they have at like the little like Chinese grocery store on the door, where it's like ding dong as people walk in.
Yeah.
Just set up one of those. Just have the little ding dong sound, and the ghost will announce themselves that way. You don't need to have creepy music on the little crank.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm going to bring up something else. This wasn't too bad in the film, but across both of their channels, all of their channels, they have an issue with swearing. So I am not a prude or anything, I swear, but my kids who are really young, they love
Sam and Colby.
Love Sam and Colby because mom loves Sam and Colby, and they want to watch it. And I always have to have a talk with them at the very beginning of the episodes. Okay, there's some things that are not going to be appropriate for children, and there's going to be language that you're not supposed to do, and you know that Sam and Colby say things that they shouldn't say, and make sure you don't repeat those.
We've been lucky that way. They haven't repeated it.
They know because I'm letting them. Like, I'm
we frame it
them.
Every single time.
Yeah, but every single time I have to sit them down and be like, okay, if something's too scary, you turn it off. If something is bad language, you know which one it is, and you don't repeat it at school or at anyone else's home or whatever.
They used to censor it in the earlier episodes. They used to censor it, and then they stopped. I guess.
And so a lot of times now I'll put on the older ones because I know that it's censored. I mean, obviously there's still some like sexual jokes and whatever, but like most of the that.
I think it's part of like catering to like the tween. Young teen audience are like, oh, they said swear words. Ooh,
yeah, but I feel that there's like a huge opportunity for money missing here. Now, if for some reason they hear this, there's no reason.
Because YouTube has cracked down on swearing. Like there's different rules. Like you can't have an F-bomb in the first 7 seconds, things like that.
Yeah, there's things they're cracking down on. But let me finish. Okay, so if someone were to get this to them, and I have no idea whether they've already talked about this or not, but if they had, you know how a lot of YouTubers will have a second channel that is only in Spanish, a second channel that's only in, like certain Chinese
like
languages and whatever. Yeah, Mr. Beast has got a ton of those, especially Spanish ones. If they had a separate channel that was the clean channel, and it was literally the exact same video, but you just had your editor go in and bleep the stuff, and if there's something really bad, sexual joke, maybe take it out.
Yeah.
That you can label, good to go for 12 and under.
And even
or
outside of just using regular AI tools that you pay for, every YouTube video creates an automatic transcription. So if you have your editing minion or whatever, you just have them check the transcription, hit Control F, find all the bad words, and then
it's a pretty
that's
quick
like
process.
a good tool for like filtering out those words. And you can have your re-edit going to your second channel or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty quick process, and like even if they just paid someone like $20 an hour to
go on Fiverr or
whatever, it doesn't. I mean, and they have money to hire.
You guys have the money, come
on. But it would be like and you would get like you could release them like the next week if you have like a brand new video. You could release it the next week so that you have all of your money going into the one main channel. It stays higher up in all that stuff. Release it next week. Don't have all the hype about it. Just put it on the channel. And then the people who don't want to listen to the harsh language, and there are some people who are adults who don't want to listen to that either. I don't care. But if it's like, you're like super strict Christian or whatever, and you don't want that in your house, they can still watch it. I can't imagine. I don't know. Anyways, they can still watch it, but mainly it's for kids. Yes, the content is not made for kids. So let's just like put that out there.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about like suicides, murders, like horrible things.
We don't say unaliving on this channel.
It's not meant for kids.
TikTok, right?
It's not meant for kids. And plus the scary like shadow figures and stuff like that's gonna like scare kids. But our kids are like, for some reason,
our kids are spooky kids.
obsessed with Halloween,
Yeah.
obsessed with spooky stuff, like maybe just because we talk about spirits and things, and like
Yeah.
we'll get into this in another story, but he sees spirits and things, so like we talk about it. It's been a part of our family. So like,
Yeah.
and like with his dad and mom and stuff, their culture a little bit is
We've got
more-
stories for days.
they're a little spooky,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. So it's just a part of our family. So like if they could watch them with me, that would be great. And like without me worrying about,
Yeah.
like, because the sexual jokes and stuff, they'll go over their head.
Yeah.
They're little.
But repeating the language at school, then you get the email from the teacher, right? And you're like,
Oh,
your
God.
kid's saying this. And they're like, oh.
Yeah. And then, and it's just like, and that's from YouTube. That's awkward. So yeah, that would be cool. If they had a whole other different channel and they just had an editor for that and they literally go through their exact same videos and take out all of that.
Sam and Colby kids.
No, I wouldn't say that because it's still, the content is still a little awkward, but
Yeah.
not meant for children. But some kids they're gonna watch it anyway. Like you see that there's a ton of like, you know, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, whatever. There was a couple kids at the screening, right?
Yeah.
And there was some really dark. There was some dark stuff. There's always dark stuff in
Yeah.
their episodes, right? We're talking about death here, right? And
But,
depending on location, demons and scary stuff, right? And so, but yeah.
But
it would
also,
just-
like, Overnight's video destroyed this. Overnight's video was so good about
Overnight's-
Skinwalker. Yeah, with Sean Klein. It was
Yeah.
so good. And
there was some little like.
there was a bit of shenanigans in there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
overall the information that you got in that
And the quality.
the
The quality was much better.
Yeah.
So wrapping up. So we have too much use of AI. Hayden killed it with the editing. Sound design, excellent, except the surround sound. What was going on there, guys?
And I just feel like, yeah, getting too comfortable with your videos being the same every time.
Yeah, too much routine.
You know, there's so many other ways to like switch it up, not just with guests. Every time you've got a new guest, and sometimes it's sometimes hard because like if you don't know who that guest is or you're not emotionally invested in that guest, you don't
Yeah.
really care, and it makes it seem as
Yeah.
like it makes it seem a little less than it's not as fun if
Yeah,
you know
if
the
it's
people
their friend.
and they're repeating back like Selena and Chris.
Yeah.
If they're repeating back and they have multiple episodes together and multiple like bonding moments together, then you get better footage.
Yeah.
And if they're around the same age as you, like Chris, Selena, and Sam and Colby, they're all very similar age.
Yeah. Sam and Colby, they're pushing 30 now. So like you can't.
I think they're 27 or 8, right? Like no, 27.
They're getting there.
Like
they're getting there.
Yeah, but
you're
like,
still young.
They're still young, but they're.
But you have to let your audience age with you. You can't keep catering down. Like you're not the Wiggles.
Well, I mean, you
right?
can, but like it's just gonna end up being like you're gonna change all of your older, you know, OG fans are gonna end up being like, and we're done,
Yeah.
because it's just gonna keep getting younger and younger and younger as opposed to growing with you. So, I think that obviously you're gonna still collab with people who are up and coming and they're famous.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
There's
right?
gonna be trending stars that you want to collaborate with, and that's fair.
Right. But keep the 19, 18, 20-year-olds to a minimum because they don't have the life experience that someone who is even 27 is going to have,
Yeah.
especially with the careers that they've had and the traveling and all that stuff. They have a life experience.
Yeah.
Someone who's like,
Even if they have like 40 million subscribers and they're like higher level than you are, still it's
still, you still want
it helps
like
the algorithm, but your credibility goes down.
yeah, and you want like that life experience causes you to think in a different way and react in different ways, and it's more interesting because they already have, usually as you're when you're getting older, you start forming your own beliefs, even if you have a structure that you've grown up with, like a religion that you've grown up with. You start having your own sets of beliefs as well, and those will bring it into a channel. It'll make, especially with spooky stuff, it'll kind of make you think about things in a different way because they might mention something that you hadn't thought about before because of their way that they think. And if you don't have life experience, you don't come up with very like interesting ideas of what it could be. You're just
Yeah.
thinking exactly the same as everyone else because you haven't really developed yet. So find some older people to come on.
Get some old geezer on there.
Like, yeah, someone who's like been ghost hunting for years. Even.
On what's it called? Project Fear. they had a thing where the Patreon people, this guy donated 10 grand to their show, and he was a guest on their show, and this guy was like in his 60s or something, right?
But, 50s.
But he brought a new perspective, different life experience, and it made a better experience as a viewer.
Yeah, he had lots of stories to tell, and
he got right in there with the equipment and stuff.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen every time, especially if you're running a contest or something. Sometimes you get a dud, right?
Yeah.
And people are just not good on camera.
Well, we saw that with the Sam and Colby fan, and they went to like the beach. It was super awkward.
Yeah, was it the beach?
What was it? Santa Monica.
Oh.
Yeah, it was so awkward.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
That was weird. But yeah, there was a couple of those things. Like sometimes they're going to be better on camera than...
everyone's not going to be a star on.
Yeah, but when it comes to like collabing, you obviously have a chance to kind of vet the person. And like, if they got cool ideas already, or maybe they're already in the haunted scene, it's kind of, I don't know, for me, it's like, makes more sense because they're going to know what you're doing. You don't have to explain it to them. They can still be skeptical. Because that's kind of your deal, is like trying to like, they're trying to like make a skeptic person believe a little bit more. But I think having the life experience and maybe having a little bit of a experience already with being either interested in the paranormal or actually investigating themselves, because then they know a little bit more of like some of the tricks and trades and things. I don't know.
So we got to wrap up here.
I don't know. We might be rambling.
We were rambling for like an hour. I don't know. What do we got left? Oh, we got like 2 minutes left.
Basically,
of the recording.
Again, we're huge fans.
Yeah.
You can tell.
She's obsessed with Sam and Colby.
I listen to them when I'm painting, and I'm a full-time artist. I'm muralist. So when I'm doing murals in houses and windows and stuff like that, like I'm literally listening to their videos, and same with Project Fear and Overnight, and like the list goes on, and the Twin Paranormal, all that. All of those channels I really enjoy, and but Sam and Colby.
We're not trying to hate on Sam and Colby.
Sam and Colby are top.
Yeah.
Okay.
We love you guys. We love your show, but your standards have been slipping. And
the film
was kind of
It was entertaining, but it was disrespectful.
It was a fun trip. We made a road trip out of it.
Yeah.
But
it was entertaining, disrespectful, and also lacked structure. So
wonderfully disappointing.
I'll still watch it again.
Yeah. So that's it for episode 1 of the Indo Chef Podcast, where all we're serving is tea. We'll see you next time.